Hi, everyone. It's been a while. And you know what? I could look at my microphone. I had already started a video before, a whole podcast, should I say, and the microphone wasn't on. Maybe it's better. I think I was going a bit too circular in that last one. So sometimes it's best. Things happen for a reason. Darlene Corbett here, your host to Get Unstuck Now, right now. Today, I'm going to talk about a few things. Before I do, though, I want to mention, I know I said I'm going to be back 2 months ago. It has been a while, and I didn't. I go off and on. Should I consider continuing this or should I give it up? But I went to a conference last week that prompted me to say, you know what, Darlene? Keep going. Just keep going. You like doing it. It does take a lot of energy, but you always have something to say. And I've had a lot to say over the last 2 months. As a matter of fact, I did do 2 podcasts about a particular issue that was really quite controversial. And I decided, no, you know what? It's not worth putting it out there. So I didn't. Today, I'm going to talk about ungentlemanly behavior. I'm going to talk about that segues into posts and follows and tags and groups. It's all under the umbrella of really Facebook, and I'll probably put that on in my program notes, and then finally, I'm going to talk about reading and writing, but no arithmetic. And a few shows I've been watching, and some I've given up on. And I know some people love the one I'm going to talk about later that I gave up on, but what can I say? All right, let's start with ungentlemanly behavior. I wrote an article. I write a lot of articles. Posted on Facebook like I always do, and LinkedIn and Twitter. And no one ever responds in a negative fashion. And lo and behold, I think it was Friday evening, I get this notification pops up. And this man who I never saw in my life writes this kind of rant telling me I had tunnel vision and I have a childlike perspective, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, who is this character? So I deleted it after reading it. And I want to say, how do I know this person? I'm actually connected in as a friend. We know that's ridiculous. It's a virtual listing, really. But I looked up his friends and I know why we are connected. So I was going to delete and block him, actually, but he beat me to the punch. Did something. Apparently I was still friends, but I don't know what he did, but maybe he did block me. I don't think so. I don't care because I was going to block him. He should know better. He's lucky I'm not a vindictive person. I'm not going to out him. I could, but I wouldn't. I think it's unprofessional. But being in the profession he's in, he should know better. These are really rocky times, and you can take a screenshot and say, he bullied me, being a damsel in distress. I wouldn't do that, but someone else might. So I tell you all this, boomers, because a lot of people rant and rave, especially around particular issues. I'm looking at my microphone here. Beware of the internet. As my client told me, a young man in his early 20s long ago who was very well versed in computers and the internet said, Darlene, I never post anything. The only thing you can find is my address. Now that may have changed. That was about 10 years ago. But he was a computer geek and he knew the internet. Did I do it myself a few times? Yeah, but nothing horrible. I wouldn't, if somebody said, did you write that? I'd say, yeah, I did. It was way back during a controversial election. And all I said is, what did you expect? All of a sudden, these people, it wasn't even to these people's posts. And they decided they looked at them, how dare you, whatever. All right. That was the last time I did that. I won't do it again. I never did it again, and I won't. Do I sometimes seethe when I see certain things? Yeah. But I really avoid looking at my timeline. I probably should more often, and maybe I don't. I just look at my notifications these days. And I stopped looking at a lot of groups. I just made a concerted effort and decision over the weekend that I'm not looking at certain things. You get your feelings hurt, you see, no more. So I only look at my groups that I'm in for the craft of writing, and a particular new community I belong to that I love. It's a faith-based community. And yes, unabashedly, I say I am a God woman, a person of faith. I don't shove it down people's throat. I don't even bring it up usually, but I do. That is my belief. So anyway, this man, I don't care what he does, but hopefully, I doubt he's listening, but maybe he knows someone that knows someone that's listening. He will be a little bit more prudent and also wiser going forward. We all have to be careful. You just don't know. Nowadays, somebody posted something on Twitter when they were 12 and they get held accountable. It's usually people in the public eye. I think about Kevin Hart, lost his hardworking man that raised himself to be one of the greatest comedians out there. And he was disinvited to be the host of the Academy Awards because of something he did 10 years ago. Whatever. It was an opinion he had. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, or a wish. I don't know. Anyway, that's that. But I want to go back to posting under people's articles or posts. I don't do it if I disagree. If I like it, I do. If I read it, I'm busy. I don't have time to read everything. But people have, for the most part, respected that with me, other than this man. We're going to talk about outside of social media, where the original articles are. Again, most people don't post. I never, ever post something when I see something that I disagree with. Again, do I see? Yeah. Especially when I see embellished facts. Well, you can't really embellish facts. Embellished content, should I say, that really doesn't examine the facts. That people, oh my God, I didn't know that. And you dissect the facts, and the devil is in the details. I'll leave it at that. But not long ago, I wrote an article that people thought was very balanced. And you could tell I had a bias, but it was more diplomatically presented. And this individual, I'm going to try not to say the gender this time. I did it last time, but that is not going on here. This individual, they, I'll use the non-binary, at one time called neutral pronoun or inclusive pronoun, they decided to let me know that I did not consider certain things. And I decided to let them know they are very wrong. It was the second time this person, at least the second time, I believe, but I saw it on another person, basically chastising that you're not taking into account this, and this. So I, being me, was not going to let that sit, and told this individual, and I stand by my position and would say it to their face, that they patronized me. I really agonized over this issue I had presented, quite so, for years, really. It was not an easy thing that brought me to where I am now. So I presented a bunch of facts that led me to come to my opinion. They didn't respond again, thankfully, and I doubt they ever will again. I must have narcissistically injured them, which is fine. Hey, I don't go on their articles and start preaching to them. So it's called respect. And the most important thing is you can disagree with me. And again, I want to say that, gentlemen on Facebook and this person, if you want to have a conversation, anybody, you can either reach out to me and we can have a brief conversation via Zoom. I like face-to-face, or not. That's not been, I've said this before, but people haven't taken me up on my offer. Feel free to present your facts, or should I say your opinion, because facts are facts. The sky is blue. It might be powder blue. It might be, well, sky blue, obviously. It might be light blue. Might be, you might call it another blue, but the sky is still blue, at least during the day, unless when it's raining, it's gray. Okay, we can have it. We can give variations to that. So I think I bring this up because, unfortunately, some people feel like that's unfair. You're not being nice. And I tell you this because another individual, and I hope they listen because I will be very clear. Another individual who had reached out to me telling me that they were very thankful for the profession I'm in and what I do because they had been abused. And I felt very bad. I hadn't read their article, and I went and read their article, and it's horrible. And no matter what, horrible. So I was very supportive of this individual and complimented them, and again, felt bad. It's hard to know on Facebook, but I knew I wasn't getting notifications. This individual blocked me. And I do believe it was connected to, if not to that person who I call patronizing, but to a cohort of people that they associate with. I'll just say that. So what did I do? I joined this junior high petulance because it really feels like junior high, doesn't it, boomers? But I'm going to get to that in a minute. This individual asked me to link in, so I linked out and blocked. Yes, I did get on that level briefly, but you get your feelings. So I thought, no more. I'm staying away from that crew. I don't have to worry about that. I will never. Now that just alienated me further. I happen to, take a different position. Maybe they thought I was mean because I called somebody patronizing. They were. So that's that. I don't, now it's even, social media even puts me off more. So boomers, you will only continue to see me writing articles and put in podcasts. But I tell you this because in some ways, it's kind of conspiratorial. It's, maybe not conspiratorial. Maybe I sound conspiratorial. But this junior high petulance of, well, I'll show them, how dare they, not whatever. I don't know. Just alienates me further from joining certain groups of people. So here I sit in my little office where I do my virtual therapy and write my articles and do my podcasts. And here I shall remain. And I'm so pleased. I don't have to be a part of this. Oh my God, do they like me? I guess they don't. So, and boomers, I want to tell you, because so many people are bullied. I see this, and I see boomers that feel like that bullying affected them. It still affects them. Try to find your voice, because the voices are louder now than ever before. Now, there's always loudness in families and friends that if you don't agree with them, they're going to disown you. And I get that. I do. But don't let anyone bully you at this point in your life. No one should be bullied. It's a horrible, horrible thing. I was bullied as a kid. Many people were. I survived. I wasn't beat up. Once I was beat. Once a girl beat me up. I was in 5th grade. But it affected me for a long time. I saw her many years until I was an adult. It affected me. It wasn't horrible. And there were other things. I was called names. I was little and talkative. I talked a lot, but not much. I was liked too. So I was really very much a nerd. I still am. But boomers, really, don't let anyone bully you. I sat with a woman I'll never forget when I did some gastric bypass evaluations. And her husband wanted to come into the room, and I said no. I stopped letting people bring their spouses when somebody had said they were sexually abused and their fiance didn't know. I go, no more, no more. I did this briefly while I was in private practice in Needham, but this woman came to see me and she told me something about her husband. You could tell he was controlling. And I said, well, he better watch out and not control you, or you may leave him. I don't know whatever happened, but he wanted to control her. And I suspect that may have been contributing to her difficulties around managing weight. Boomers, don't let anyone bully you. Keep your voice. You are strong, you are older, and you have every right to feel good about who you are. If you have an opinion, as long as you're diplomatic, present it. And if they don't like it, you just have to say, we'll have to disagree. It's the way it goes. So, ungentlemanly behavior, unwomanly behavior, whatever. Be diplomatic, be polite. Don't call people names in articles or in rants. That's what I have to say. And in some ways, what prompted me to write some of my articles was people put down people that don't look at the world like they do. And they do it they try to do it in a very well, once they didn't, they basically labeled people, but they try to do it in a way that's so, they're supercilious. I put that in my article too. That's all I'll say. And if they ask me, were you referring to me? I'd say, yeah. I don't like people that think they're better than you. So boomers, if anyone does that to you, don't let them. Don't let them make you feel bad about you. And Gen X's and Gen Zers or whatever I'm missing, millennials. But don't let anyone do that to you. So that's what I have to say about ungentlemanly, unwomanly behavior and posts and follows and everything else that goes with it. Next, so that's that. I want to say one more thing about Facebook. Thank you for the invite to groups, but I'm not joining any groups right now. I've actually eliminated my groups, number of them. So I only really belong to a few that are pertinent to my belief system or to the craft of writing. That's it. And then one other group I'm in because I write for them. That's it. That's it. So I thank you. Don't take it personally, but I have enough going on in my life to be part of another group. The other thing is, I never tag anyone, ever, ever, ever. Once I did. My friend Stephanie, because her and I agree with some things. I did tag her, but hardly. And she would be the one I would tag on Facebook. I used to do it on LinkedIn constantly, and somebody very diplomatically said, and I said, you know what? You're right. I stopped. So on LinkedIn, I stopped totally, except for the person I publish under. And my friend Stephanie, sometimes the article is pertinent. She's a fabulous, I'll say, I'm going to digress for a moment. Empowerment parenting, get her book. Every parent should have it. It teaches people how to set appropriate limits with their children and to teach them to think, and to teach them to develop a good moral and sensible young person. That's I throw that out to Stephanie. She's fabulous. But I don't ever tag anyone on Facebook other than her. And I get tags, and that's fine. I have no problem promoting people. I don't. People send their prayer tags, people I don't even know, people from Africa or whatever. That's fine. And other people that are coaches, that's fine too. The only time I'll eliminate a tag is if someone out of the blue that I don't know from Adam or have no connection, I'll remove their tag. Or, which I did recently, someone that uses my same theme that puts their tag on my profile. No, you can't do that. I do that theme. I'm a therapist. I truly know how to do that. They can use the theme. It's very generic. Somebody else used it too. And the other person, I just ignore anyway, but they're not even part of that. But no. So that's that. Do not tag me on something that uses my theme. And you know who you are and what that's about. Other things, feel free. This person's very nice to me, but I will remove it. I never, ever tag people. I'm not saying good for me. I think people get annoyed, and I don't blame them on LinkedIn, especially I was tagging them. So I've stopped all tags. So that's all I have to say about social media. So anyone that I've tagged on LinkedIn that used to have to read my obnoxious tags, I apologize. And I will never do it again. Okay, now moving on to writing and reading. I navigate a few worlds. I've been a therapist for years. That's my main world. It's my bread and butter world, and it's in my DNA world, my DNA. I was in the speaking world, and I've been in the writing world and the author writing world. And I say those two things are not synonymous. Authors can have ghostwriters, as I've said, and many people do not write their own books. Not so much fiction, which I'm going to get to, more in the nonfiction world. They hire ghostwriters, celebrities and their wives or their husbands, politicians and their wives and their husbands. Not all, but many. Some write their own books. I've said this over and over because I think there's such a myth out there. People, I say, well, they don't know how to write. Well, then don't write. Don't write a book then. I'm very biased about this, actually. It's one thing to write articles, but to write a book, well, the only caveat to that would be if you give attribution to the ghostwriter. And many people do, and that, fine. But like someone said to me once, people pay for not doing that. I win their reputation. I said, okay. So I respect greatly the ones that do. They're writing with the ghostwriter, and then I give them a hand. Anyway, I talk about this because you don't see that as much in fiction. And that's what I love. I was at the Writers Digest conference this weekend, this past Thursday. I came back Saturday. It ended Sunday, but I came back sooner. And it was absolutely fabulous. Fabulous. I learned so much. It's so many superb people teaching you about the craft of writing fiction. I've been writing nonfiction for a long time, and it's always a refining process. Do not get me wrong. We should always continue to refine. It's like sculpting. But maybe because I'm newer to fiction, there is no comparison to writing creatively. Getting the ideas out, for me, I don't have, cross my fingers, thank you, God. I don't get writer's block at this point. Could happen. But I have ideas constantly coming through, and I write them, and I write. And, I'm in this middle of this project, very humbling, but I'm really enjoying it. So I'm looking at my Zoom here, and I'm going to pause this for one moment. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to end soon, I think, because I need to end. So I want to say this. I am so impressed by fiction writers. We cheered each other on. I did not pitch, but many of them did their manuscripts. And I felt of all the groups I've navigated, they're the least competitive and the most supportive. And it's wonderful. And I will support all these authors I met. I told them, let me know when your book comes out. I will not only support it, I will mention it here. So what I'm going to do is now mention The Kite Runner again. I did an Instagram. It is one of the most captivating, compelling books I ever read. I highly recommend it. It is beautiful. It is majestic. I had the opportunity to see the play in New York. If you get a chance, go see it. Again, the playwright captured the essence of the book by Mr. Hosseini. Absolutely superb. I would love to say more, but my battery is going to run out because I'm not plugging it in. But I say this because I'm going to talk more about books. I love books. I would take the books any day over the internet. You said, what do you need? You want social media or you want a book? Give me a book any day. I'm going to keep an eye on as I'm doing this on my PC, but I have been writing. Well, I've been writing for a long time, but I've been reading since I was a child for years. People read books to me. I loved it. My mother gave me, and my father did too, but she did the shopping. Corbett's Island, which prompted her to get the book. Trixie Belden. I started reading all the Trixie Belden books. Then I read Donna Parker. Then I read Nancy Drew. Are these ringing bells, boomers? Then I moved on to Victoria Hall, Night of the Seventh Moon, one of my favorites. Also, her pseudonym under Philippa Carr. Moved on to Taylor Caldwell. And then finally, on and on and on. I have a bookaholic. I'm going to talk more about books every time I'm on this podcast because I think every child should be read to. And I think they should be encouraged to read. I do not want reading to be a lost art. Now, I want to mention also, and I didn't get to see this. I wasn't even sure I'd get to the play. The conference was very chock full. And, you listen, you get tired. But J.P. Morgan, the banker from long ago, built a library to house his books. And apparently it's been majestically, I don't know if it's renovated, but it's on display in New York City. And I wish I could go see it, but the pictures look beautiful. And JP Morgan did not pick the architect that was popular at the time. He picked someone that went with his personality more, somebody that had more restraint and more sober, so an elegance, but one more from long ago, from way back. I think the Villas of Rome. So it's understated on the outside, but the inside looks glorious. So if you get to New York City soon, go see the Kite Runner, go visit this library. And now as I'm about to, I got a couple more, a few more percentages here. I will talk more about reading and writing because I just think it's just amazing, amazing. And I celebrate all those authors that create. And that's why parents and grandparents read to your children and have them read because it stimulates the imagination. And you don't know where that can lead them. It transports you to another world. It still does. I'm reading a little bit less of my novels. I still have them. I'm just behind because I'm reading all these books about crafting so I can learn to be a better writer. I'm always a believer in lifelong learning. And boomers, all of you should be. You say, well, I want to learn. Learn something.